This is an amp I've read about on forums and heard about on the JHS show as well as that pedal show, both the original Sovtek version as well as the new Electro Harmonix version. As they're finally becoming available here in Europe, I wanted to try one. Let's start by putting the amp in context. I'll play part of a back and forth solo where the original pre-recorded part was going through the same chain, with the exception that I used my Dr. Z Z-Rack Jr. head. So let's see how the other half I'm playing now compares while using the MIG-50. The MIG-50 is a circuit supposed to be based on an old Fender Bassman with some crossover into Marshall Plexi territory. And that makes sense because the Marshall JDM45 was basically a Fender Bassman copy with some different parts. And within the realm of Marshall sounds, to me the MIG-50 sounds closest to the JDM45. You can also hear and feel the characteristics that the JDM45 and Bassman share. Woolly and 40 low ends, raspy and raunchy top ends, and it takes some tweaking to find the right mellow ground to make sure the amp is neither too boomy nor fizzy. To do this you have two inputs. The first one is really dark and rather clean, the second one is bright and more gainy. But unlike the amps it's based on, you cannot patch the two channels together, so you either have to use a ABY pedal or a Y cable. And this is how those two channels sound. Now I'd like to know how it handles different guitars and effects, and to do this I will be using both channels together and the same settings for everything from here on out, so it's a fair comparison. Let's start off with a Telecaster. I'm pretty sure that will cut through a mix. Now let's try a Les Paul and use it in all three pickup configurations and throw in a fuzz at the end to see how it takes that. Something that you'll have to know about this amp is that it's really loud. Those 50 watts give you plenty of clean headroom, but if you want a good sound, it will still be too loud for most applications if you're not using an attenuator. Especially if you want the drive coming out of the amp instead of using an overdrive pedal. Also, you really have to dial in with your ears and not with your eyes. You might need to set some pretty extreme settings to get the sound you want to, but there's plenty of room to play with. I think this can be a pretty versatile amp, but with a thin margin to sweet spots. I say that because I think this amp can quickly get too much of something. Too raspy, too bassy, too gainy, and those sorts of things. Everything works pretty interactive and you don't get a good sound without putting in some effort. As you could hear in that last clip, it has a nice dynamic range from sparkly cleans to dirty drive sounds. It also handles pedals really well, even though it doesn't have an effects loop, which in my opinion is not a problem at all. These are relatively inexpensive amps and they do feel a bit cheap on the outside, although the inside build quality appears to be good. Sound wise, I think it has some cool character and you cannot really go wrong with it as long as it's your thing and you own an attenuator. I will soon compare the MIG-50 to a Vox AC15 and a Marshall Studio Vintage, which are within the same price range and tonal spectrum, to see where this sits with the better known brands Marshall and Vox. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching and please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon and I'll see you next time.